All right, so, uh, everyone loves a good deal,
Absolutely.
and especially when it comes to travel. Who doesn't want to save a few bucks on their next trip?
Exactly.
But with so many budget airlines out there, it can be tough to know which one is actually going to give you the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We've got a mountain of research here. Articles, financial reports, customer reviews, the whole 9 yards,
Yeah.
comparing Norwegian Air Shuttle and Ryanair, two of the biggest names in the budget travel game.
And it's a fascinating comparison.
Right,
Yeah.
like on the surface, they both promise cheap flights to Europe, but when you look closer, there's some pretty big differences.
Hmm.
And we want to help you figure out which one is right for you.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics, their websites.
Okay.
Both are super easy to use, but they give off totally different vibes.
Yeah.
Norwegian's is like all sleek and professional, very polished,
I see.
almost like a high-end travel agency. Ryanair's is more in-your-face, bright colors, bold claims about being the cheapest option.
Right. It's like they're trying to grab your attention.
Exactly, like shouting, hey, look how cheap we are.
Exactly.
And, speaking of different approaches, Norwegian even has a whole section dedicated to group bookings,
Oh, wow.
like for sports teams or big families.
Interesting.
And Ryanair, well, this one surprised me. They actually highlight their business and economy classes.
Business class on Ryanair.
I know, right? I was like, who knew they even had a business class?
It makes you wonder if they're trying to like rebrand themselves a little bit, maybe move away from that super no frills image.
Yeah, maybe they're realizing that, some people are willing to pay a little extra for some comfort and perks.
Right.
Speaking of changes, the news paints a pretty interesting picture of where these airlines are headed.
Oh, yeah.
Norwegian seems to be on a roll right now. They're
Mhm.
reporting record profits, their planes are running on time, and they're even adding brand new aircraft to their fleet. Plus, they just bought up Widerøe, a regional airline in Scandinavia,
Oh, wow.
which basically makes them the kings of the Nordic market.
So they're really expanding their reach.
Yeah, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with.
So what about Ryanair? What are they up to?
They're also expanding, but it seems a little more uh, bumpy, shall we say.
Yeah, okay.
So they're pouring tons of money into Spain, which is interesting because they're also in a big tax dispute with the Spanish government.
Risky move.
Right. It's like they're playing hardball,
Yeah.
and they've opened up some new routes, but they've also had to cancel others because
Oh.
of those rising taxes.
I see. So they're willing to take risks to keep their prices low.
It seems that way, but, their customer service reputation, let's just say it needs some work.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So I'm wondering, do you think that no-frills approach is actually hurting them in the long run?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can they really afford to ignore customer satisfaction, especially when you consider that Norwegian's customer reviews are generally pretty good?
Yeah, people seem to really appreciate their modern planes and that smoother travel experience.
Right, because at the end of the day, people remember how they were treated.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's talk money, the thing everyone wants to know about.
All right, let's dive into the financials.
So Norwegian's financial reports show strong profit and revenue growth, which sounds great.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
But they did have a net loss of almost $20 million in the last quarter of 2024.
Oh, that's interesting.
Should we be worried?
Well, it's worth keeping an eye on for sure, but
Yeah.
remember, their performance in the previous quarter was fantastic.
True.
It could just be a temporary dip.
Okay, so maybe not panic time yet.
Not yet.
But now Ryanair, well, they're also profitable,
Mm-hmm.
and their secret weapon is something called ancillary revenue.
Ancillary revenue.
Basically, all those extra fees they charge for baggage seat selection, you name it.
Classic Ryanair.
Right, those super low base fares that lure you in, and then bam, fees everywhere.
But their financials prove it's working.
It does make you wonder, though, like how we define cheap when it comes to airlines.
Right.
Are those ultra-low fares really a bargain if you end up paying a bunch of extra fees?
It's a good point because with Norwegian, you have more of a choice.
Right.
They've got their low fare plus and flex options.
Yeah, each tier gives you different perks for different prices, so you
Yeah.
can decide what's worth it to you.
So you have more control over how much you spend.
Exactly. But with Ryanair, you're kind of playing a guessing game with their dynamic pricing.
Oh, yeah.
The fare you see today might be gone tomorrow.
Makes it hard to plan.
And stressful.
Definitely. Speaking of strategy, let's look at how they're marketing themselves.
Yeah, because they're both taking very different approaches.
Totally.
So Norwegian is all about those sleek digital campaigns and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
They're even using some fancy software to fight ad bots and make sure their marketing budget is spent wisely.
Smart.
Ryanair, on the other hand, well, they're all about memes, controversy, and humor.
Yeah, they definitely like to push the boundaries.
Sometimes it feels like they're being provocative just for the sake of it.
Right, but it definitely gets them attention, especially with younger travelers.
No doubt. But is it a sustainable strategy in the long term? Could all that negativity actually turn people off?
It's a gamble.
To wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's look at who's winning the financial game.
Okay.
So Ryanair's market cap, which basically means the total value of their company, is a whopping $24.109 billion.
Wow.
Norwegian sits at a much smaller $0.96 billion.
Big difference.
Does that mean Ryanair is the clear winner here?
Not so fast. Remember, Norwegian has had its ups and downs. And even though Ryanair seems to be dominating financially, we have to ask ourselves at what cost.
Right, because maybe there's more to success than just the bottom line.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about money and marketing and even a little bit of controversy.
Yeah.
But what about the environment?
Mm-hmm.
Saving money shouldn't mean trashing the planet, right?
Absolutely. And this is where Norwegian and Ryanair really start to diverge. Norwegian has been super vocal about their commitment to sustainability.
Yeah, it seems like they're putting their money where their mouth is. They've invested in a fleet of modern fuel-efficient planes, and they're even exploring the use of sustainable aviation fuels.
Yeah, they've partnered with this company called Norsk eFuel to try to ramp up production.
Wow, so it sounds like they're taking a pretty comprehensive approach.
They are, and it shows that they're thinking about the long-term impact of their operations.
Right, not just about making a quick buck.
Exactly. So how does Ryanair measure up in the sustainability department?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Well, they haven't been as vocal about their efforts as Norwegian,
Interesting.
but they are making some moves like adding winglets to their older planes to make them more fuel efficient.
Oh, okay, those little wingtips.
Yeah, and they've also invested in some newer Boeing 737-8200 game changers, which are supposed to be more environmentally friendly.
So it seems like they're doing something, but they're not exactly bragging about it.
Right.
Maybe they're worried about how it'll impact their low-cost image.
It's possible. But as the pressure grows on the aviation industry to reduce its carbon footprint, they might not be able to stay quiet for much longer.
Yeah, true. Speaking of pressure, let's talk about the kind that affects our wallets, those extra fees.
Ah, yes. The budget airline's favorite way to sneak in extra costs.
It's like a game sometimes, trying to figure out how much you're actually going to end up paying.
Right.
So with Norwegian, their fees are pretty standard for the industry.
Okay.
Extra for checked bags, seat selection,
Yeah.
the drill.
Yeah.
But at least they're upfront about it, and their tiered pricing system gives you some control over how much you spend.
I see. So you can choose the level of service that fits your budget.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryanair, well, they take the a la carte approach to a whole new level.
In what way?
It's like everything is an extra charge.
Yeah.
You want to choose your seat fee, need to check a bag fee.
Yeah.
Even printing your boarding pass at the airport will cost you.
Seriously?
Yeah, it can feel like a constant barrage of extra charges.
I bet that gets annoying.
Some people really hate that feeling of being nickel and dimed.
I can understand that.
But to be fair, it's all there on their website,
That's true.
so you know what you're getting into before you book.
And their base fares are often so low that even with all the extras, you might still end up paying less than you would with another airline.
Yeah, that's the gamble.
Right. You have to be a really savvy traveler to avoid those fees and make sure you're actually getting a good deal.
So which approach is better? Norwegian's transparency or Ryanair's ultra-low fare but lots of fees model?
It's a tough call. Honestly, it depends on what matters more to you as a traveler.
Okay.
Do you want a smoother experience and peace of mind, even if it costs a bit more?
Right.
Or are you all about getting the absolute lowest price, even if it means jumping through hoops and packing light?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Websites, news financials, fees, even marketing and sustainability.
Yeah, it's been a deep dive.
But there's one more crucial element we need to consider: safety.
Of course, because at the end of the day, none of the other stuff matters if you don't feel safe flying with an airline.
Exactly. And luckily, both Norwegian and Ryanair have solid safety records.
Okay, that's good to know.
They both operate modern fleets with rigorous maintenance checks, and their pilots are highly trained professionals.
That definitely gives you peace of mind.
But, we like to go the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
So we did some digging into their safety ratings and any past incidents.
Oh, interesting. What did you find?
Well, first of all, both airlines received a 7 out of 7 star safety rating from Airline Ratings.com.
Airline Ratings.com.
It's a well-respected independent website that reviews airline safety and products.
Okay, so that's a good sign.
Definitely.
Yeah.
However, we did find that Ryanair has had a few more minor incidents reported compared to Norwegian,
Hmm.
which makes sense when you consider that they operate a significantly larger number of flights.
Right. It's like comparing traffic accidents in a small town versus a big city.
Exactly. And it's important to note that none of those Ryanair incidents resulted in any serious injuries.
So just minor bumps in the road.
Pretty much.
Mm.
So it seems safe to say that both airlines are committed to safety.
Yeah.
You can book with either one knowing that you're in good hands.
Of course, as with any form of travel, it's always a good idea to stay informed and do your own research about any potential concerns.
Absolutely. All right, we've reached the moment of truth.
Okay.
It's time to declare a winner in this battle of the budget airlines. Drum roll, please.
Ha.
Well, it's not a simple answer.
Right.
Both airlines have their strengths and weaknesses. Norwegian scores points for their modern fleet, their commitment to sustainability, and a generally more pleasant customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to appeal to travelers who value transparency and are willing to pay a little extra for a smoother journey.
And what about Ryanair?
Ryanair, well, they reign supreme in the ultra-low fare category.
Makes sense.
Their vast network, their efficient operations, and their bold marketing tactics have made them a major player in the industry.
They're definitely not afraid to make a splash.
Not at all. They definitely appeal to the budget-conscious traveler who's willing to play the fee game and pack light.
So who wins?
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener?
Yeah.
If you're chasing the absolute lowest fare and you don't mind a bit of a gamble, Ryanair might be your best bet.
Okay.
But if you prioritize a smoother, more sustainable, and potentially more pleasant experience, Norwegian could be your ticket to travel bliss.
It really comes down to personal preference.
Exactly. Ultimately, the best airline for you will depend on your individual needs, preferences, and of course, your destination.
Right.
We've given you the information you need to make an informed decision,
Hopefully.
but we're not done just yet. Remember that final thought we left you with earlier? Take a look at individual customer reviews for specific routes.
Ah, yes, good point.
You might find hidden gems or red flags that can make your decision crystal clear. Maybe a particular Norwegian route has consistently stellar reviews, or perhaps a specific Ryanair airport is known for long lines and delays.
It's all in the details.
It really is. And there you have it, folks.
Hmm.
Our deep dive into the world of budget airlines has come to an end.
It's been a journey.
We hope you enjoyed it and picked up some valuable insights along the way.
Yeah, always good to be informed.
Remember, travel is an adventure, and choosing the right airline is just the first step.
Absolutely. Safe travels and happy exploring.
Okay, so we've talked about pretty much everything but the actual experience of flying with these airlines.
Right, the in-flight experience.
Because let's be real, those hours you spend on the plane can really make or break your trip.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody wants to be stuck in a cramped, uncomfortable seat for hours on end.
Exactly. So let's break down what you can actually expect once you're on board one of these budget airlines.
Okay, sounds good.
Starting with Norwegian, you're generally going to get a more modern, comfortable cabin.
Yeah, their newer planes often have things like adjustable headrests, individual entertainment systems, even Wi-Fi sometimes.
It's definitely a step up from your typical no-frills airline.
So are they like aiming for a more premium budget experience?
I think so. They seem to be trying to find that sweet spot between affordability and comfort.
Interesting.
Now, with Ryanair, well, their cabins are more functional, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
Their focus is clearly on efficiency and keeping costs down,
Yeah.
so don't expect fancy extras. But their seats are generally considered to be pretty comfortable.
And hey, as long as you can get a little shut-eye on a long flight, that's all that matters sometimes.
Right. And remember, both airlines offer different fare classes.
Oh, yeah.
So you might be able to snag some extra perks like more legroom or priority boarding, depending on how much you're willing to spend.
Worth considering, especially if you're on a longer flight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another key difference is the in-flight service.
Okay. How's that work?
So Norwegian has a buy-on-board menu
Okay.
with a decent selection of snacks, meals, and drinks.
Not bad.
It's not gourmet dining by any means, but it'll definitely get you through the flight.
Right, you're not expecting a 5-star meal on a budget airline.
Exactly. Ryanair, on the other hand, is all about those impulse purchases.
How?
Their cabin crew are basically walking snack and duty-free shops, constantly coming through the aisles, offering stuff for sale.
Ah, I see.
It can feel a bit overwhelming, to be honest, especially if you're trying to relax or catch some sleep.
Yeah, I can see that.
But hey, maybe you enjoy a bit of retail therapy at 30,000 feet.
To each their own.
All right, so we've pretty much analyzed every aspect of these airlines, from their websites to their safety records to what it's actually like to fly with them.
It's been a thorough deep dive.
But before we give our final verdict, Let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways.
Okay, sounds good.
So Norwegian seems to be focused on creating a more premium budget experience.
Right. They're investing in those modern planes, sustainable practices, a smoother travel experience overall.
Exactly. Their customer service reputation is generally good, and their financials are solid, even with that recent quarterly loss.
So they're doing pretty well.
Now Ryanair, well, they're doubling down on their ultra-low fare model,
Makes sense.
expanding aggressively, cutting costs wherever possible, and using those bold marketing tactics to get attention.
Right, they're not afraid to stir things up.
Definitely. They might not win any awards for customer service, but their financials prove that their strategy is working.
So it's a trade-off.
In a way, yeah. So which airline comes out on top?
Huh. The million-dollar question.
It really depends on what you value as a traveler.
That's true.
If you prioritize comfort and sustainability, a smoother experience, and you're willing to pay a bit more for those things, Norwegian might be the better choice.
Okay, and what about for the super budget-conscious traveler?
If you're all about snagging the absolute lowest fare, even if it means sacrificing some frills and maybe navigating a few extra fees, Ryanair could be your winner.
So there's no clear-cut answer?
Nope. Ultimately, the best advice we can give you is to do your research, read reviews for specific routes, and consider your own travel style and priorities.
Makes sense.
And that brings our deep dive to a close.
Oh, wow, it flew by.
We hope you've enjoyed this head-to-head comparison of Norwegian and Ryanair, and that you feel armed with the knowledge you need to make an informed decision for your next European adventure.
Yeah, and remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It all comes down to personal preference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happy travels, everyone.